Hey everyone, welcome back. My name's Matt. You can call me Cryptic if you'd like. Today I'm going to be starting a tutorial series on how to model props and weapons for video games, film, whatever it is you want to, 3D printing. With this series, I started with my last video about blocking out a 3D model. I wanted to continue it and really refine the details and work towards a finalized model that can either be finished up in Substance Painter and rendered out in Arnold, Maya, Unreal Engine, whatever it is you're working with, or 3D printed if you really want to. If you haven't checked out the video I did on blocking, I recommend doing so. The process there is kind of important to getting started with this, but if you do want to skip that, if you've blocked enough and you feel pretty comfortable with that process, the model is in the description of this video, so you can download it and work along with me depending on what 3D software you're using. The format is in an OBJ format, so I'm pretty sure that's universal. If it's not, let me know in the comments. But let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so if you watch the old video, you'll recognize this model. This was the one that we threw together real quick just to block out the original design of the pistol and actually work towards it. One thing that you can't really see is that on my monitor over here, I've got some more concept art pulled up. I can kind of bring this into view. So I'm looking at somebody else's model that they made. It's potential this could have been pulled from the game. I don't really know. So we're going to just go through and start adding the, in this video anyway, we're going to start adding the basic shaping to kind of flesh out the pistol. So let's get started. The first thing I'm going to kind of look at here is this slide area, this mechanism area. And what I notice here is it is a single piece that goes into this front chamber. So like this entire piece is the back slide, the rear slide. So we're going to extract that, and then we're going to start working with this piece here. I like to work through extracting, so I'll have my blocked out model and I'll extract pieces from it and then build on that. I find it easier to actually kind of confine and control what I'm doing. And it doesn't matter because in the end it's going to be a solid model anyway. Alright, so I'm going to extrude this guy. See if I can get the best. Alright, so let's do it this way. Okay, so we've got our extrusion there. I'm gonna go ahead and flatten these faces out because I don't want any sort of weird shaping going on, especially right now at this process. And just as a reminder, if you want to follow along, the model files for this blocking are in my description. Alright. So we got our 3D object now, so let's go ahead and add the bump on the back here, which is a sight. And most sights, normally when you're looking at them, they're going to have a little dip in the center. So we're going to add that, but we're not going to flesh it out just too quickly here. Offset edge looks cool. The whole point is just to get this thing shaping up to what we want it to be, and not stressing too much initially about the way it's going to look when it's done. Okay, so there we go. So we have our shape there. Let's just line it up with the concept though, because because I scaled everything, stuff got a little misaligned, but that's okay. It's not a big deal. It's easy to fix. We just want to make sure we're being as accurate as we can be with this. And see, this is an area where I wasn't very accurate. And that's okay. We'll just get this adjusted here. This needs to come back because this is going to be the base of that sight. And that should look okay. Yeah, nothing's really changed there. We're kind of going into the body of the pistol right now, but it's not the biggest issue in the world right now. thin that a bit. Okay. Pull up my concept here again. All right, there we go. All right, so we're just starting to add some of these sub details. So there is the kind of gripping area. I don't know if you would call it really a Picatinny mount, but it's an area where you grip the thing. So we're gonna work on that portion now, which it's right down here. We're just going to extrude this, pull this in. Alright, so that's looking good. We're not going to add the ribbing yet. We will focus on that in the later process. Right now, again, this is just about getting the general model shaped out. So let's do this. We're gonna add a supporting edge loop right here, and then I'm gonna pull these in and start getting that rounded look. Okay, perfect. And I hope with the way this is edited, you guys will be able to follow along as best as possible. So I think this is where it separates. So actually what I want to do, so I'm going to pull this back. I'm going to flatten it out. It's okay to like go through this process and then establish, no, I did something wrong. I think I'm going to leave it there. This is going to, again, kind of be my interpretation of it. Just because it's kind of hard to get the actual concept art for this, at least in a full 3-dimensional capacity. So we're going to extrude this guy out. And there we go. We're still a little too thick on the slide, so we'll get that adjusted here. And right now I'm only focusing on the slide. I'm not focusing on anything else right now. Okay. So as far as like the main details on the slide, or the main shaping on the slide, I think we're in a good spot. I'm gonna leave that be. And then the next part we're gonna focus on is this front piece. I'm gonna once again separate this, but I need to add some supporting geometry to this. There's loop. Right here, because this is going to allow us to get that to fill this gap where the slide is covering. So I think for the time being here, let's do this. Actually, we're just going to select the entire front portion of this pistol. Make sure I got it all. Yep. Mesh tools. Separate. Use extract. Okay. So we're going to extract this guy off. And this one's going to be a little bit different because I'm not going to... I think what I want to do here... Alright, so we're going to expand this. We're going to pull these down. Because instead of extruding this, we're actually going to be... Oops. We're actually going to be kind of creating an object out of this one, just using the existing geometry. Just because I don't want to deal with having to extrude and create a weird shape there. So, I'm going to pull this guy up. Get that matched up well. Okay. And then if we look at the concept itself, it has this going for it. So we're going to go ahead and model that in now. And we can just continue following the image. And if you need this image file, it is also in the folder that the blocking model is in. clean up some of this. Alright. We're going to insert an edge loop here to continue adding the details needed to flesh this out. It's kind of interesting the way they did that. I think I'm going to kind of ignore that and make this one concise piece. I still want my edges to kind of flow with it properly, but let's get these pulled back. And somehow that got rotated. We're going to rotate that back, just kind of square it up. I'm not hyper focused on the barrel right now. Okay. But I do want to get these kind of pulled up here. Okay. And then we'll adjust this a bit as well. Okay. So there we go. We have that. So I'm going to show, isolate, view selected. Okay, so here's what we're going to do here. We're going to make this a solid piece for now. I'm not super concerned with interior details, especially if I'm looking at 3D printing this potentially. I think I may do 2 versions of this model. I'm not entirely sure. None of those merged. That's all good. That's good. Okay, cool. Show isolate. All right, so that's our solid piece now. Okay. Okay. So next thing we're gonna add, there's an indent at the top of this. Mesh tools. We're gonna offset it. Nope. Offset edge tool. There it is. There are hundreds of key shortcuts for Maya if you've never really spent time with it. Have I learned them all? Absolutely not. Okay, so this shape is not working. This is not looking the way the actual model itself looks. I'm going to kind of leave that there. I think I'm also going to pull these back. Yeah, see, we kind of ignored this. So I'm going to not ignore that. I think the easiest way to do this, just going to scale this, rotate it until it matches what I want it to match. And there we go. Except for that. So somehow we created a triangle here. And I'm not for that. I don't want that. I don't want that triangle to exist. So what we need to do is delete those. I'm going to add a loop in here. Mesh tools, insert edge loop tool. This is going to create a quad. And we're just going to continue working with this. Face edge. We're going to bridge one division. That creates our polygon. Or our quad anyway. I try to avoid triangles as much as possible. It's just kind of difficult to work with them. At least for what I do. If you're doing game design, not a huge deal. Again, just trying to make sure that we're getting what we're needing to get here. There's some weird shaping going on there, but I'll fix that in a little bit here. Alright. Take this vertex, pull that in. That should kind of give us that nice... Okay, cool. So we're good there. We do have some more triangles going on in here, so this is going to be something I come back and refine a little bit. But for now, what we can do is we can continue working on adding the details that we were looking for. Pull that in. I'm gonna actually pull this forward and then drop this down. But the issue I've got here is I need this to go straight through. So, to do that, we're just gonna delete these faces. We're gonna bridge them separately. Okay. And then what I'm gonna have to do is undo that because I didn't remove that division. I don't want that division. Okay. Pull this forward a bit. The whole goal here is going to be to make this match up as well, as best as possible at the front of this gun. We still have a quad here. We just need to actually get it working. Try this out. Yeah, this will work. Okay. Alright. Vertex. I'm gonna try to flatten all this out. Rotate it a bit. Just match that general shaping. Doesn't really have to be perfect, especially in this step. But there we go. So we've got the ridge there. We do have an issue with this edge loop. I'm gonna try to pull that out a bit. And then what I'm gonna do is just slightly pull this one in. Won't be that much of a difference. You won't really notice a whole change. Edge tools, insert edge loop tool. We're gonna go, all right, let's look at the concept again. So we're gonna pull out the front sight. We already did the rear sight, so we're gonna pull out the front sight now. So mesh tools, we're gonna do an offset. Oh, no, actually we're not. You know what, let's do this. Base, Q escape. Instead of offsetting, I'm gonna actually just pull this out. Try to keep that quad level down. Vertex. And then we'll pull this guy back. I'm gonna pull all this geometry back a little bit so I can get that matched in. Insert. We're gonna pop that in there and just get this shaping down. So it's kind of rounded at the front from the looks of it. Okay, so there we go. So we got that front sight going in there. And the other thing we've got is we've got this area here. So if I go back to my main build, we have this like vent. Because it's a silenced pistol, there's going to be some sort of venting. We're going to go ahead and add that venting real quick here. The biggest thing with doing something like this is you're going to want to try to match the geometry without really screwing up your actual edge flow. So I'm going to try to match all of this up as best as possible. And I'm going to add edge loops. We're just going to edge loop here and here. And that gives me almost what I need. And then there. Okay. Cool. And then we're going to take these vertex. All right, so that's good. And you can see this face now. This is in here. And then what we're going to do is we're going to pull it in. Again, we're not focusing on heavy detail here, so wait a minute. Yeah. I'm gonna pull this in. Seems like it goes pretty deep, so we'll leave it right about there. And then I might make those separate inserts just to retain that detail and not add it throughout the model. Although it does look like it's pretty much faced, so we'll try to work with that. The other thing we'll be doing later on is adding these circularized, I still can't say that word, holes, to add like the pins and everything that hold the pistol together. All right, so we've got both those parts right now, so those are solid, they're good to go. The next part we've got to work on is the handguard. So show, isolate, view selected. So I'm gonna go ahead and create this as one main shape. We're gonna bridge this. That's good. Let's just keep adding detail here. Oop, nope, that's not what we want to do. All right, there we go. Get those all locked in. Just make sure they locked in. Yeah, we're good. Okay, cool. So this is now too wide because we've kind of adjusted the actual shaping and we're trying to follow closely with the concept. We need to thin that out a bit. All right, so looking at the concept here once again, this piece now is going to link forward with this one. So this is going to be its own separate thing. We're going to pull it down though because we don't want that going into the slide anymore. So all of these pieces that are currently sitting inside the slide, we're going to remove down. All right, so we're good there. All right, mesh tools, insert edge loop tool. We're going to add a little bit more detail in here. Okay. And it's okay that stuff is like not working out, not showing, or things are showing through the model. You're going to work on that later. It's not a big deal. Okay. So that's what we've got so far. And looking at the back of this pistol, this is not the way I want it flowing. So we're gonna scale these out a bit. And the reason I'm scaling is just to retain the largest chunk possible of like detail. I'll pull these in a little bit. I'm not worried too much right now about like tolerances and the way things are fitting together. We will worry about that later, but right now is just not the time for it. These are actually flatter. Okay. All right. So we want to make this as flat as possible. This is going to be one of those pieces I end up cutting in half, and then we'll remerge the two pieces together. All right, so we got that. Next thing we need to add is the grip indent, which is an edge zip tool. We're going to put that there. This is right above where the grip guard merges with the body. So we're just going to pull this guy in. Okay. And that's about as thin as I want this magazine to go. I think it's a little too thin, so I'm going to have to work on some... In fact, here's what we're going to do. We're going to scale this out to better match what we're trying to do here. Just going to make sure the model is kind of matching up as best as possible. This magazine also needs to be rounded off, so I'm not super hyper concerned with it. But there is something going on there, so let's look at that. Okay, so it's because the inside is just not being scaled with the outside. Not a huge deal, so that's fixed there. Okay, so shell. All right, let's match this grip guard up as best as possible. And it's super hard to see, if even possible to see, really. So here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna guesstimate a little bit. We're just gonna add a little bit of support here on the edges. And then we're gonna pull these in. Okay. Just wanted to make sure that was actually gonna do what I wanted it to. Definitely a good idea to check. That gives us that nice rounded look that we're looking for right there. And then up here where the trigger body is, there is another kind of loop that goes through here. So we're gonna go ahead and model that real quick. Mesh tools, we're gonna insert an edge loop here at the base of the trigger. Kind of happens right above here, honestly. And then we need this supporting structure up here. And then we're gonna add a couple loops. And so here's what I'm gonna do here. So this is what we're working with. We're gonna take these, kind of curve this up. This whole shape kind of flows to the back of the pistol. So we're gonna pull this back a bit, pull this back a bit, and then change this. So we've got that nice shape going there. And then if we look at the way the trigger itself sits there, and there's we need a little bit more of a supporting edge loop here. Edge loop tool. And again, these techniques should, in theory, match up with any 3D software you're using. The tools just may be named differently. Alright. Alright, so that's kind of what we're dealing with there. It's a weird shape, but it's okay. I also moved the wrong... Yeah, we moved the wrong piece there. So, let's... Easy enough correction. Actually, I really didn't move the wrong piece. It's just too high up. We've got that curve going there. It does look a little funky. Don't worry too much about that. We can clean that up real quick, just for the sake of having this look as clean as possible. That one's gonna look weird just because that's the way that they designed the pistol. But now what we can do is we can take this piece, and we can go pull all this, and then this goes straight up to the body, which is weird. Here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna isolate this, because this is kind of an odd configuration that they've got here. It's almost like the body itself kind of flattens. Which I know isn't really the case. But I want to try to match that as best as possible. Alright. So that goes all the way up. We go back to our faces. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do this side. Alright, so we've got that there. And then what we're going to do is make sure none of this is acting funky or meshing weirdly with this thing. All right, so we'll pull that back. Cool. So that's good-ish. Got a little bit of work to do in here cleaning this up. Again, this is a weird shape. So here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna delete half of this model. Hopefully the correct half, yes. All right, so the reason I'm doing that, it makes it easier just to relink all this together and create its own object. Plus, I really just want to make sure that I'm actually getting the things that I want here. And then the other thing we're gonna do, this isn't necessarily, I don't know if we're gonna do this right now. We're gonna try it. So we're gonna bevel this. So that's going to smooth that a little bit. That actually should be okay. So I'm going to leave it. And then we're going to duplicate this. One. Oh no, hold on. Modify. Make sure you freeze your transformations when you do this. You'll kind of screw yourself up in the long run if you don't. Tools, combine. We're going to combine those two tools, or those two pieces, and then we're going to select the entire center row of vertexes, and we're going to attempt to just easily merge them. Because if you smooth this right now, it's probably, wow, wait a minute. It's probably not going to do what it needs to. And then just check to make sure you didn't have anything merged improperly. I like to just go around the model and just kind of wiggle a couple pieces just to make sure they're all connected and working together. And then you can unsmooth it. And the way I'm smoothing and unsmoothing is just with 3 and 1. If you're using something else, I can't really help you there. Okay. So we're getting there. I'm going to worry about these subset pieces later. I'm not super concerned about them. Right now, I'm more worried about the body of the pistol. So the last thing we're going to do here is we're going to just round out this magazine. Show, isolate view selected. We need to add a supporting loop down here. Because the last thing we want to do is screw up that. And I think the magazine itself can actually be... Let's look here. Yeah, we can go out a bit. Okay. So, show, isolate view selected. We're just gonna pull these in ever so slightly. And then we're gonna add just a little bit of base detail here. If you've ever used a firearm or anything like that, you know kind of how a magazine works. There's a loading point. Whoop. There's a loading point for your rounds. That's what we're gonna do right now. Just kind of pull this in. Pretty sure the Halo pistol was like a 9mm. Could have been like a 45. I'm not entirely sure. Do that, and then take those off, and then do that. Alright, so we have a little bit of base detail there that we can work with a little bit later. That's it. That's kind of the first portion of refining the shapes of this pistol. I wanted to keep these tutorials down to 30 minutes-ish because it's a long process. It's going to take a while. I'm going to release one of these every single week so you can follow along. But yeah. But yeah, that's kind of what we have accomplished today. So we're going to save this, I like to save my scenes in a separate format, so what I'll do is I'll go to where I'm working. And since I've got my blocking model, I'm going to save this as mid-detailing. That way I can always go back to my blocking model if I have to. So that's it. That's the end of this tutorial for now. We've blocked out the model. We've added some more details, some more kind of refining details to the model, and then we're going to continue refining it as we go down. I'm going to try to release these every single week, so make sure you're subscribed so you get the notification to the next video that will be going live next week. Until then, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.